Ukraine needs Patriot air defense systems. Strikes deep into Russia will not provoke escalation. On the contrary, they will reduce it. Orbán, is he a peace dove or a crazy one? These topics in more detail in today's weekly wrap-up by UATV English and me, Pavlo Sternmach, doing my best to break the hard truths in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. For full protection, Ukraine needs 25 Patriot air defense systems. Volodymyr Zelenskyy said this during a press conference. At the same time, the president did not say how many systems our country currently has. Zelenskyy also noted that Patriots are not the only we need. There is a complex at work in defense. Patriot alone will not work. But he is one of the most important in this generalized system, the most powerful, because nothing else hits ballistics. The president reported that Ukraine has additionally held negotiations with several European countries regarding on the transfer of the air defense systems, but it is possible to completely close the sky only with the assistance of the United States. It is impossible to completely cover the need for air defense without the US, because the necessary number of systems is only there, the president said. Following the results of the NATO summit in Washington, the leaders of the USA, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy and Romania announced the transfer to Ukraine of 5 Patriot and SAMP-T strategic air defense systems, as well as dozens of tactical air defense systems. This was previously reported by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. According to the Minister of Defense Rustem Umerov, the USA, Canada, Norway, Spain, Great Britain and other allies will additionally provide dozens of tactical air defenses. NASAMS, Hawk, Iris-T and Gepard. In general, according to Umerov, within the framework of the signed bilateral agreements, at the highest level, Ukraine will receive both military and financial assistance with hundreds of millions of dollars. In particular, the US will provide Ukraine with a new $225 million military aid package, which includes the Patriot system and missiles for it. Missiles for NASAMS, artillery ammunition and anti-tank missiles. Norway will provide parts for Sea-King helicopters, 6 F-16s and $93 million in funding for air defense. Canada to provide new $366 million aid package. Australia will give Ukraine its biggest military aid package since the start of their full-scale invasion worth $169 million. The Netherlands will provide €300 million for the purchase of ammunition for F-16 fighters. As the Minister of Defense emphasized, Denmark financed the production of 18 Bohdana artillery systems, becoming the first NATO country to directly finance Ukrainian production of weapons and ammunition. Lithuania produced anti-drone system. The total cost of aid from Lithuania since the start of the Russian invasion is €1 billion. Great Britain plans to allocate £3 billion annually for military support to Ukraine until 2031. New Zealand will provide a new military aid package worth $3.68 million. Germany handed over a package of military aid which includes the Patriot air defense system, interceptors, artillery shells, drones, military engineering vehicles and other equipment. As you can see, the world coalition to fight the Russian dictatorship and evil is only expanding and strengthening. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, appealed to the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Keir Starmer, with a request to help Ukraine get the opportunity to use Western long-range weapons for strikes deep into Russia. According to the Ukrainian leader, if restrictions on the use of Western weapons are lifted, it will help Kyiv to strengthen its defenses and destroy weapons centers in the Russian Federation. The British Prime Minister promises Zelenskyy to redouble his efforts to support Ukraine. He added that the ability to use Western weapons for strikes on Russian territory is important for Ukraine's efforts to defend against Moscow's terror. As you know, in recent comments, the new Prime Minister Keir Starmer said that the method of use of Storm Shadow missiles transferred by Britain is Ukraine's business. Many took this as the fact that Britain allows Kyiv to use them for strikes on Russian territory. However, a comment from Downing Street later appeared in a British media that the government's policy regarding the use of long-range weapons transferred by Ukraine has not changed. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy once again called on the West to allow strikes deep into the territory of Russian Federation. This is necessary so that all the airfields from which the Russian Federation attacks Ukraine are destroyed. He stated this while participating in the inaugural plenary session of the Summit of the European Political Community.
The fewer restrictions we have on the use of effective weapons, the more Russia will seek peace. Military airfields from which Russian jets take off with bombs against our cities, our people, our children, and the launch sites of Russian missiles, all these must be destroyed. These will not only eliminate some targets, but will also reduce Russia's capability to continue this war. The missiles and drones are not bearers of state sovereignty, so there must be a collective will to shoot them down, just as it was within Iranian missiles and drones. I appeal to all of you, to all leaders who can contribute to the required bravery. These steps must be taken. And I address primarily United States, UK, France, Germany, Poland, and other friends. Your bravery can be decisive for peace.
According to Zelenskyy, the military airfields from which Russian planes take off with bombs and hit Ukrainian cities, children and the launch sites of Russian missiles, all these must be destroyed. Zelenskyy also gave an example of the effectiveness of the strikes on the Russian Federation using the example of the Kharkiv region because, in his opinion, reality on the battlefield explains more than any talk. We did not allow Russia to advance in the Kharkiv region. Putin sacrificed tens of thousands of his citizens, but he achieved nothing. Nothing important and significant. This became possible thanks to the bravery of our soldiers and the bravery of our partners who lifted restrictions on the use of weapons near the border. Did it lead to an escalation? On the contrary, it blocked Putin's attempts to expand the war, said Volodymyr Zelenskyy. When Russian rockets hit children with cancer on Akhmadit, according to the president, it only demonstrated the evil that the Russian Federation has been demonstrating since the beginning of the war, and therefore it is necessary to act as bravely as possible to achieve results. Earlier, the head of the Pentagon, Lloyd Austin, stated that the advance of the Russian invaders in the north of the Kharkiv region slowed down after a part of Ukraine's allies allowed strikes on the territory of Russia. In addition, according to AR publication, the Russians were preparing an even bigger offensive on the Kharkiv region, concentrating about 90,000 soldiers on their territory. But thanks to the US permission to strike with American weapons on Russian territory, the new offensive was thwarted. Also this week, the Russian Ministry of Defense is publicly boasting that it is dropping the FAB-3000, the heaviest ever bomb, over Ukraine. This is a bomb weighing 3 tons. And as the head of the President's office, Andriy Yermak, noted, they do this from Su-34 aircraft, which are based on airfields that we must destroy in order to protect our people. For this, we need permission to strike deep into the Russian Federation with Western weapons, so that these planes no longer drop these bombs. One such decision can save many lives, Yermak wrote on social networks. At the same time, the US President's National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, does not have an unequivocal answer as to whatever the circumstances which Washington would allow Ukraine to use American weapons for such deeper strikes on Russian territory. He said this on Friday, July 19th, during a conference at the Aspen Institute. At the same time, he emphasized that the current position of the president is that the circumstances are changing and that US President Joe Biden has already changed his policy regarding the use of weapons provided to Ukraine, in particular by allowing strikes on Russian territory near the border. I can't predict what will happen in the fall, Sullivan said. He also emphasized that NATO will play a decisive role and will be the basis of support for Ukraine on a long-term and sustainable basis. But unfortunately, in addition to support, we also need permits. The Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, published the text of the letter he previously sent to the President of the European Council, Charles Michel. In it, Orbán expressed the opinion that the intensity of the war in Ukraine will radically intensify in the near future. Orbán also mentioned his talks with US presidential candidate Donald Trump, expressing his belief that after his potential victory, he will be ready to act as a peace broker immediately. The Prime Minister of Hungary also suggested that in the event of Trump's victory, the proportion of financial aid to Ukraine between the US and the European Union will change so that the most of the burden falls on the EU. Therefore, Orbán suggested the EU leadership to discuss negotiations with China on the next peace conference for maintaining political contacts with Ukraine at a high level, to restore direct lines of diplomatic relations with Russia, and to restore such direct contacts in our political communication, to launch a coordinated political offensive in the direction of the global south, whose favor, according to Orbán, the EU has lost because of its position on Ukraine. Previously, Michel had already reacted to this letter after reports about it appeared in the media. In his answer, the President of the European Council summarizes that no discussion about Ukraine can take place without Ukraine. What are the peculiarities of the relationships between Ukraine and Hungary, and what goals does Viktor Orbán actually pursue? I discussed this with the head of the Hungarian Community of Kyiv and Kyiv region, Tibor Tompa. And today I'm glad to welcome Tibor Tompa, the head of the Hungarian Community in Kyiv and Kyiv region, in our studio, and we will communicate about the history of Ukraine and Hungary, of two neighborly states, and why we have such political tensions and disagreements with rather friendly neighbor and people that was in cooperation and friendship and developed with Ukraine for centuries. So my first question will be about historical maybe traumas that exist between Ukraine and Hungary to better understand the political the political scene right now.
First of all, thanks for your invitation in this studio. And I'd like to say about relation between Hungary and Ukraine, between people, it's without any problems. And I don't want to say personally about the trauma, historical trauma between Ukrainian and Hungarians. Why? Because me and our Hungarian minority never experienced any negative reactions to being a part of Hungarian in Ukraine. In Ukraine, by now, lives approximately 50,000 Hungarians totally. But 20 years before, this approximately 152,000 persons.
So much more.
Too much more, yes. What this decrease is, because I would like to say the greatest issue for Hungarians in Transcarpathia, because most Hungarian minority live in Transcarpathia, is integration into Ukrainian society, because we have a lost young generation Hungarians in Transcarpathia, and this generation, unfortunately, not know Ukrainian language. They know only Hungarian, and they are not competitive in Ukraine and also not competitive in Hungary. And I'd like to emphasize, our status and our situation in Ukrainian without any problems except Russian aggression. Because I've been living in Ukraine for 60 years, and these years before, it was a totally happy.
So before Russian aggression, you mean like before 2014?
You're right. Yeah. Well, because you know, I am here, and a lot of Hungarians in Kiev also live now. Before this aggression, our community had approximately 520 persons. Unfortunately, today, not more than 100, and we have a very famous Ukrainian Hungarians in Kiev. Mr. József Szabo, a famous Ukrainian soccer player and coach, Gisela Cipolla, famous opera singer, and János Vig, famous architecture.
Okay, so you tell me that the real problem with that Hungarians meet in Ukraine is integration.
Yeah.
They cannot integrate into Ukrainian society because they lack Ukrainian language. and maybe why they cannot integrate into Hungary if they know Hungarian.
Because these people, unfortunately, cheap workforce for Hungary, for Hungarian society, because they know only one language, not more, and they also don't have enough educational level, enough professional level. And after that, in Hungary, they get only very
Low-paid jobs. Yeah.
low-paid jobs, not more.
I see now that because they do not know Ukrainian, they could not get education. So it's like a closed circle. That I believe that's one of the points that Ukrainian and Hungarian governments have agreed to work on lately. There have been a magnificent progress. For the last 10 years, it has been only political tensions between Ukraine and Hungary. But I've been very encouraged by the intergovernmental meetings and even by the visit of Viktor Orbán to Kyiv, the first one since 2012, I believe. He met President Yanukovych. I mean, it was a really long time ago. And I believe that we will have some progress on that to be really friendly nations and to have such maybe level of cooperation as Ukraine and Poland. And returning to our questions, Hungary is now taking the seat of presidency of the EU Council.
Yeah.
And Viktor Orbán has committed a tour, a diplomatic tour, as he calls it, a peaceful tour, peacemaking. First, he went to Kyiv, which was expected, which was announced and agreed upon with the European Union. He had a meeting with Ukraine's president, but then he went unexpectedly to Moscow and Beijing. He could not present the whole European Union, but he acted like he presented the whole European Union there. What do you think? What should we do with such acts of Viktor Orbán as the leader of Hungary right now, as a political leader of the country? How to understand it?
I am outraged and dissatisfied with the actions of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, because it's not a mission of peace. It's a totally hype. Unfortunately, not more. And also, it's unbelievable, but Orbán interferes really badly in our life, I mean to Hungarian minority. And I'd like to recommend Orbán work with Hungarians in Hungary, not interfere and not acting as a hostile force, because for us, for Ukrainian Hungarians, for me, sorry, but it's same as an evil force, not more. And everybody know in Europe about Orbán's action against Ukraine, against Ukrainian aids, maybe last 2 years, and I think we all need to provide cooperation not only with Hungarian government, but we also need to close cooperate with Hungarian different cycles, with different peoples.
Oh, you mean the opposition? Peter Magyar came to Kyiv too.
Yes. Peter Magyar, yes, and other opposition forces, because today we have two Hungary. First Hungary is Orbán Hungary, Orbanistan. It represents 18th and 19th century, same as a feudal serfs. And second democratic Hungary, same as Budapest. In Budapest, Orbán totally lost election for mayor and for European Parliament, and we also have a democratic mayor in Budapest, Gergely Karácsony, who also really help Ukraine and Kiev.
Yeah, I will agree that Hungary is a democratic country, is a European country, but maybe you maybe you have some thoughts why Viktor Orbán himself is so pro-Russian, why he has a nickname of Putin's best friend in Europe. Maybe that's something personal.
Yeah, it's right. It's not a secret. He's a real friend and a real force, Putin force in Europe and maybe in the whole world. As Stefano Bottoni wrote in last his book about Orbán, in 2009, Orbán met Putin in St. Petersburg, and Putin showed him special secret materials about his actions in Soviet period.
So this can be some kind of blackmail.
Part of blackmail, and Orbán likes power and money, and I also think it's two forces which connect Orbán and Putin.
Maybe the last question on the theme of politics of Hungary. Do you see another candidate for Hungarian prime minister for next election? So we had last year, I believe, elections in Hungary.
We will have in Hungary election 1.5 years later.
So do you see someone else taking the place of Viktor Orbán after all of what happens right now?
Yeah, you are right. You mentioned before about Péter Magyar. Today, maybe has some chance to be a new premier minister in next parliamentary election in Hungary, Péter Magyar. Why? Today, Orbán has approximately 40% approval in Hungary in election, and Péter Magyar 32%.
That's very close.
Very close, and we have 1.5 years. I think Péter Magyar will have the end of this year also the same, maybe 42%.
Okay, I believe that's a lot of time, still 1.5 years. People can develop their political campaigns. We are watching the American political election campaign. It changes on the go every day.
I really hope that Orbán will be consigned in the dustbin of history.
It's been a long time, a long period of Orbán's rule in Hungary, completely democratically elected, but still maybe a more pro-European government, pro-democratic government will appear in Hungary soon. It will.
Sorry. Orbán not a democratic leader. He's a really autocrat, and I think he never been democratic. And today his populism and his attitudes to
democracies itself
and democratic values, equal zero.
Okay, I see that. And to sum up our talk right here, I would like to ask your opinion how to improve cooperation and friendliness between Ukraine and Hungary, between Ukrainians and Hungarians. Maybe we can do something from our Ukrainian side to integrate Hungarians more, to give more freedom and maybe some chances to integrate into Ukrainian society.
Hungarians in Ukraine, they have necessary freedom. Freedom is not problem for Hungarians in Ukraine. I think mentioned integration process. I mean, we need more Ukrainian media, more Ukrainian forces in Transcarpathia, in near the Hungarian border, because these people need to be informed not only from Orbán and Hungarian media, but I would like that they get a lot of information from Ukraine media.
So you tell me that Ukrainization of Transcarpathia, rather than Hungarization of Transcarpathia, will eliminate the divide, the great divide that maybe distracts Hungarian minority in Ukraine from other possibilities, right?
Yeah, it's thank you. It's a very good understanding and what you mean Ukrainization for Hungarian minority. Yeah, you know, my first language is Hungarian, but Ukrainian also my not second, also my first language, and I also really like Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian cuisine, Ukrainian traditions, etc., etc.
I've heard how you speak Ukrainian. It is so well. So it's a great honor that people live in Ukraine learn Ukrainian language, and after all, it's a state language. It is okay. It is necessary.
Yeah,
to know.
yeah, but it's not only state language. It's a communication language between all people in Ukraine.
Yeah, so we have Romanian Ukrainians, Hungarian Ukrainians, Crimean Tatars, other Bulgarians, and they all can communicate between each other in Ukrainian.
Yeah, because our common language in Ukrainian language, not other language.
So
maybe second language must be English.
Yeah, globalization is a common process right now.
We need to be multilingual, and also I would like to provide for Transcarpathian Hungarians to be multilingual. It means first language Hungarian, first language Ukrainian, and the second language English, and that's it.
So Hungarian, Ukrainian, you see that as one language for people living in Ukraine, and the second one should be English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe that makes it that has deepened my understanding of Hungarian community in Ukraine and our relations as a whole. I've been thinking about what I said, Ukrainization of Transcarpathia. In a positive sense, not assimilation.
Only positive. Yeah, but you know, it's only positive. No, Ukrainian language, Ukrainian cuisine, Ukrainian traditions, and Ukrainian attitudes.
And probably
mentality.
Ukrainians can go to Hungary to enjoy the cuisine, the wine, the architecture of Budapest, and the culture of the country.
You know, by the way, in Hungary, by that time, live approximately 20,000 Ukrainians. Ukrainians, Hungarian, and you know, they write in Hungary to prepare borscht and dance hopak, not more right.
Okay, so I am very grateful for you coming to our studio today, for our viewers to explaining how Hungary and Ukraine are cooperating with each other, and I wish all the best for our two peoples, and I would really like to see a true friendship between Ukraine and Hungary, Ukraine and Hungarian people from now on and for the eternity of time. Thank you very much for coming.
Totally agree with you, Pavel. Thanks for having me.
So we had the head of the Hungarian community in Kyiv and Kyiv region, Tibor Tompa, in UATV studio discussing the implications of Ukrainian and Hungarian relations, why it is rather political dispute than some national disagreement, and that we can overcome it over time if we just be kind to each other. So thank you for watching. Ask your questions, write comments below this video about Hungary, maybe Ukraine, and how you see all this going for the solution. So have a nice day and watch UATV English. Goodbye.